Orioles are in for game 2 of this 3-game series. The Blue Jays won 13-6 last night, but Showalter, the skipper of the Orioles. Let's take a look at their lineup. Top of the order, Alejandro De Aza. He is a leadoff man, back in the lineup tonight. Adam Jones in that 4th spot. His career numbers have been good against the Blue Jays.
Aaron Sanchez searching for his first win of the season. Showed a little progress, I thought, in his last start. His fastball was a lot better. He had the movement that he needs to get those ground ball outs. Pitched into the 6th inning. Better fastball, still walked 3 batters and struck out 4. Pulled after 90 pitches and 9 base runners.
Foul down the left side. Sanchez gave up a run on a double play in the 3rd and then gave up a RBI double to David DeJesus. Those are the only runs he allowed. So I think it was a step in the right direction last time
a
out.
big step, but still you need some runs to win a ball game.
There's a curveball, and Sanchez strikes out De Aza. 1 down. Well, the defense has been spectacular, especially in the outfield. A little different look tonight. Goins in left, Pompey in center, and Kevin Pillar makes his 5th start in right field. Reyes and Devin Travis back in the lineup up the middle. Donaldson and Smoke at the corners, and Russell Martins behind the plate.
Ryan Goins has played 111 Major League games. This is the first time that he has stepped to the outfield in a Major League game. He'll get the start tonight in left field.
Aaron Sanchez jumps ahead of Jimmy Paredes. Paredes just activated off the DL. Paredes is the Oriole that got hit in the face during batting practice last night. He took a 1-hopper off the turf and caught him up beside his face.
He can hit. 364 in the spring. He had 12 RBIs in the 24 games that he played. He switch hitter. He can hit. Going to DH tonight, hitting that number 2 hole.
2-1. Way inside. Paredes was in competition with Jonathan Scope. There was some thoughts that he might open up as the second baseman, but Scope won out, and now, of course, Scope on the DL, and Paredes has been added to the roster. A high pop, that's going to be out of play down the left side.
Yeah, a little bit more for his bat than for his glove right now. Jimmy Paredes has been around. Baltimore liked him so much they went out and got him twice. Lost him last year in Kansas City and then traded back for him to get him back into this organization.
Sanchez bounces that one in the dirt. That's ball 4.
Let's take a look at the scouting report for young Aaron Sanchez. He's got all the pitches. You can see the fastball curve, the changeup, and he cuts it. Working on that slider. What he has to do a little bit more improvement with is versus left-handers. They have really hit Aaron hard this year. I think a lot of the problem is he has not been able to have that good fastball command that you need, especially against the left-handers, to get him out.
First pitch is inside. Left-handers for the season, 9 for 15, and certainly Chris Davis is a left-handed batter, and you can see they play that exaggerated shift on him.
Didn't pitch poorly against the Orioles the last time he faced them, just made a couple of mistakes. Davis was one of those guys. Chris Davis homered against him.
Sanchez gave up 2 first-inning home runs against the Orioles. You see the difference this season. Lefties are wearing him out. 9 for 15 compared to what he did against them last year. They hit just 150.
Yeah, I think it all goes back to fastball command. He just has not been able to command the fastball. He's falling behind. You see he walked Paredes, a left-handed batter. Now he is falling behind Chris Davis, 2-0. He can always get out of the problems, though, because he's got that fastball and he's got the movement back on it.
96 in a good spot to Davis. Chris Davis is 3 for 3 against Aaron Sanchez. 2 home runs. He hit a home run here last year into the second deck in center field.
This is how strong Chris Davis is. Turns on that pitch to right center field, second deck. here at Rogers Center. And then this is the other one, away. I think you have to pitch Chris Davis in. You can't let him extend those arms like he did right there. He is so strong, and He's hit a couple of home runs this year, both of them to left field.
There goes Paredes. Good strong throw by Martin, but it's on the first base side of the bag. Martin got rid of it quickly, but the ball tailed on him, and Paredes has his first stolen base of the season.
Boy, he had him too. Sanchez lets go with a fastball. It's a good pitch for Martin to throw on, but the ball's tailing on Reyes, and Paredes picks up his first stolen base.
You can see that ball just sailed and took Reyes away from the bag at second. Full count, 1 out. Adam Jones is on deck. Back-to-back walks after the strikeout. Sanchez is always going to have a lot of movement on his fastball. What he needs to do is just shoot for a big part of the plate.
That time it looked like he had Chris Davis set up for that inside fastball, that comeback fastball. But it was just a little bit inside. But I'm with you. I think you need to shoot for the middle of the plate and let that natural movement of that fastball take it to the corners.
Adam Jones is leading the American League in hitting at 442. He is tied for the Major League lead with Adrian Gonzalez of the Dodgers. Jones working with a new hitting coach this season, Scott Coolbaugh, and they seem to click very quickly. That's Coolbaugh there.
And Adam has been very aggressive, and he hasn't missed his pitches.
Sanchez pulls that one way out of the zone, and Russell Martin's going to go out and have a chat with this young pitcher.
Right now, he struck out the first batter, Diaz, quickly with that curveball. Now he's falling behind. And it all goes back to his fastball command. He has not been able to throw that fastball where he needs to.
What you can do as a catcher is just try to encourage him to focus on a particular area, target, glove, mask, something where he can really lock in, and then just try to hit that spot. Line just smoke, and they're going to double up the runner at second. Justin Smoke can absolutely pick it. Takes a hit away from Adam Jones, and Smoke was halfway between first and second. That was a line drive headed for right. Look at Smoke's reaction. He gloves it and then senses he's got the guy at second. Walks, and that's a good start for him. Get that first inning under your belt. Take a look at the lineup for the Blue Jays. They scored a season-high 13 runs and tied their season high with 16 hits. Josh Donaldson, in his last 11 games, he's at .395. He's dropped down in the third spot tonight with no Jose Bautista. Russell Martin against Jimenez is 9 for 33, and there aren't many guys in this lineup that have hit well against Jimenez.
He's just been so tough. He beat the Blue Jays in his first start in dominating fashion. Ubaldo Jimenez threw 7 innings, 1 hit with 8 strikeouts. Then he had a no decision in his last start. That lasted only 3 2/3 innings. And it was also no-hit baseball before he was beat. He was ejected out of that game. Here's how dominant he's been. 2 starts, they've had 1 hit. against Jimenez. 4 walks and a hit batter. Reyes is the only one to get a hit off of him this season.
Reyes got a hit in his second at bat against Jimenez last time they faced him. Of course, then he was batting left-handed. He continues to bat right-handed as he's dealing with that crap rib on his left side. Ubaldo Jimenez, one of the best pitchers in the National League while he was with the Colorado Rockies. He's trying to recapture that form. There's a changeup off the end of the bat.
He's a different type of pitcher now than what he was when he was in Colorado. Back then it was power. Power fastball, power breaking ball. Now he's a little bit better when he takes a little something off.
This is his 10th career start against the Blue Jays. And he strikes out Reyes. Well, you mentioned he was a power pitcher in his prime with the Colorado Rockies, and the velocity is dropping every year since 2010 at 96.1. That was his best season.
96, and now look at it. It's all the way down to 89.5. But this guy seems to me he's better the slower he is. He can get it in the strike zone. There were some years where he was really wild, especially with his fastball. Now that he has taken that fastball down, he's been able to control it, change speeds. What he did right there against Reyes was very impressive. Everything was up till he got the 2 strikes and then dropped that splitter on him. Really changed the eye plane of Jose Reyes.
This is Devin Travis back in the lineup. He missed yesterday's game. He got hit by a pitch on Sunday and had to leave after his first at bat. Off to a great start in his rookie season. This is the first time Travis has been hitting in the 2 spot in the lineup. Done most of his work batting 9th, but then when Reyes was out, he moved up to the leadoff spot and hit 300. Jose Bautista out of the lineup tonight, dealing with a sore shoulder. Bautista had been bothered by that shoulder for the last few days, and then last night it all came to a head when he made that throw, attempting to throw out Delman Young at first. Ooh, Travis tossed the bat aside, and he'll want to make amends with Mike DeMiro, the home plate umpire.
Sorry about that. I thought it was low. I didn't mean to show you up. I did that one time my rookie year and did not apologize to the umpire. Didn't know I had to. Next ball bounced on the plate, strike 3.
Travis rips it to right field. That's down in front of De Aza. Welcome back, Devin Travis. Hasn't missed a beat.
Well, this is what you were talking about right here, Buck. Delman Young sends a scorcher to right field, and Bautista, with his passion and his excitement, tries to throw him out at first base, and Delman Young didn't care for that. But this throw right here is the throw that the Blue Jays were talking about, that Bautista aggravated that shoulder with. That came the inning right after he hit the home run.
Bautista threw out Billy Butler on a similar play with Kansas City. Then the next night got Omar Infante, threw out runners at first in back-to-back games. So this is Josh Donaldson. Boy, Donaldson caught fire when they moved him into that 2 spot. He went 12 for 25. That's a .480 average. That's got him up to 345.
Using the bigger parts of the ballpark right now, sending it right back through the middle. We were talking in the opening about Josh Donaldson and what he was saying, why he is starting to feel better. He says, I'm starting to hit my pitch. First week of the season, I was getting my pitch, and you're only going to get 1 pitch per at bat. He said I was fouling it back or popping it up. Now I'm starting to hit it a little bit square.
There goes Devin Travis. The throw from Joseph is not in time. Travis with his first big league stolen base. Caleb Joseph hasn't caught a base stealer yet.
Well, he's going to need some help from his pitcher. And Ubaldo Jimenez got that long arm swing. You can see that it takes a long time for that ball to get towards home plate. Devin Travis, straight steal, as you see. He doesn't even look back in. That's a straight steal. But Ubaldo Jimenez with that long arm swing to get that ball towards home plate. That takes time. Blue Jays might take advantage of that.
A ball and 2 strikes to Josh Donaldson. And he strikes out. So Edwin Encarnacion will come to the plate. He had a big night last night.
Well, if you could add up how far both of these home runs hit, it's going to be a lot. Dead center field in the first inning, and then this one off of Brian Mattis. He knew it. It carries into the first row in the 5th deck. And Edwin with a couple of home runs, that's a good sign for the Blue Jays. Whenever you've got middle of the order guys hitting home runs, those are the type of players that can carry you.
It was the 19th time Encarnacion has had a multi-home run game, and it was the 18th ball to land in that 500 level. Encarnacion has done it twice.
Before his home run in the 5th deck yesterday, who was the last player to hit one in the 5th deck? Edwin Encarnacion. Almost 2 years exactly to the day. April the 20th, 2013, off of John Lester. And we were here for that one, too.
Ball and a strike. Ground ball. Manny Machado will take his time, throw to first. Blue Jays leave a base runner. We've played an inning here at Rogers Center. It's a scoreless ball game.
Cup playoffs. Go to sportsnet.ca/schedule for matchups, channel listings, and start times. And Buck and Tabby, I got a question on Twitter today I want to pass your way. After everything that went on last night, how much will that galvanize a team and bring them together?
Well, Barry, I think it brings everybody together on both sides of the diamond. You know, you're fighting for your teammates, you're fighting for pride, and I think it's not a bad thing early on. Good thing about the whole situation, nobody got hurt. I think that's the big thing, and everybody wants to play. Everybody's competitive. We've seen a lot of this early this season.
Yeah, it's hard to understand also. Guys get pitched inside, and they don't even have to get hit, and they get crazy right now.
This is Travis Snyder. He's riding a 5-game hit streak. Former Blue Jay is in left field tonight. 0-2. Sanchez pitching ahead. Boy, that is a key for any pitcher.
And pitch ahead with that fastball. Those are 2 pretty good ones, right down and in to Travis Snyder.
Wicked breaking ball. Second strikeout of the game for Aaron Sanchez.
See, he established that fastball in and then got Snyder thinking about it. So the next pitch, you go right back in, and now you throw a breaking ball. As a hitter, you're thinking heater again, and then you get that type of swing right over that curveball.
This is Manny Machado, the third baseman. One thing we have seen from Sanchez in his last 2 starts is the velocity where it should be, up around 96, 97. First time out, I think he was trying to be too fine. Breaking ball.
Yeah, too fine. Ball wasn't doing anything. It wasn't coming out of his hand like we have seen it in the past. He got the fastball back. Next thing, we got to see the movement come back also on that fastball.
It's a pretty good pitch, but it was off the plate upstairs. It's now 3.
And be careful.
Yeah, he'll be swinging. He was swinging last night, 3-0 count. Well, you're not going to get borderline pitches when you have trouble throwing strikes. Take a look at the velocity for Aaron Sanchez compared to last year, and last year was quite a bit different because he was working out of the bullpen.
Yeah, he was basically 1 inning. Let's see, throw it as hard as you can, and that's why you see that velocity average 97 miles an hour in 2015 down to 94, which is still pretty darn good, and the batting average up. It's a lot different trying to go 3 times through a lineup than just 1 inning. Heck, we're seeing that this year from Liam Hendricks. The velocity is up, the breaking ball's a little bit sharper when you only have to throw 1 inning.
Let's see, is Ryan Flaherty, second baseman. Ground ball. Travis comes after it, shovels quickly to Reyes, in turn to first. What a double play! Devin Travis really made that play. It wasn't sharply hit. He came after it and shoveled quickly to Reyes, and Reyes looks like he might be bothered again by that side. You can see he's very gently walking off the field. Second double play behind Sanchez. Travis shovels quickly to Reyes, who turns it to end the inning. On everything baseball and hockey related tonight. Good to see Reyes back. He looked like he was bothered a little bit by that left side, but he's back on the bench. This is Justin Smoke playing at first base. He was into the game last night as a defensive replacement.
Well, what we were talking about, watch there in the shift with the batter, so he's coming from a different angle and he catches the ball. Now he's got to turn all the way around, got twisted just a little bit, and then finished off that play.
High fly ball to left field. Travis Snyder makes the grab. Smoke's retired, 1 down.
As Jose came off the field, he was feeling that left side one more time. There it is right there, and it's the same kind of actions we saw from Jose in Baltimore when it first happened. But that's good to see him on the bench and smiling. This guy, all he wants to do is play.
He wants to play. It's absolutely imperative. He's going to stay on the field. He loves to play. The team has energy when he plays, and good to see him back out on the bench. This is Russell Martin. He takes a first pitch strike. Russell was 0 for 3 in the game last night, but walked twice and scored a pair of runs.
He gets to see his share of pitches every at bat. Think about Jimenez in that last start. Everything he threw, he was carving up the corners. He made so many quality pitches in that start against the Blue Jays. He wasn't just throwing fastballs right down the middle and they were missing them. He was throwing them on the corner like that. They were comeback fastballs. I talked to some of the Blue Jay batters afterwards, and they said they'd never seen a pitcher hit his spots time after time after time in the time that he was out there. And it looks like he's doing the same here tonight.
He retired the first 9 batters he faced in that start at Oriole Park. Reyes leading off the 4th single. That's the only hit he had given up until the Travis hit tonight with 1 out in the 1st.
So tough against right-handers. Just hitting his spots against the righties.
Dalton Pompey is on deck. He had a big night last night. 3 for 4 with a pair of doubles. Says popped up over the mound. Caleb Joseph out. Chris Davis calls him off, and the first baseman makes the catch. 2 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. In the snow? What? That's no fun.
Thought that was over with.
38 degrees. It's cold enough to snow.
I played in Detroit when it snowed.
Oh, man. Remember, we had a game there a couple of years ago. We did a game early in the season.
Yes.
It was miserable. And we weren't even playing.
Who was the smart guy who left the windows open, too?
That was Scott.
Scott Carson?
Yeah.
Jesus. Man, it was freezing.
Ball in the strike to Dalton Pompey. Stays on that off-speed pitch, probably that splitter. Pompey, as we mentioned, a big night last night. 3 for 4 with a pair of doubles. Had a terrific effort diving for a ball in the outfield. Couldn't make the catch. Popped to his feet, threw a strike to Ryan Goins, and they nailed Chris Davis at the plate.
Picked up his second outfield assist on that play. Stayed right with it.
There's one of those pitches on the corner. Another good inning for Ubaldo Jimenez. He has 3 strikeouts through 2 innings.
Presented by the 2015 Honda CR-V, Motor Trend's 2015 Sport Utility of the Year.
Welcome inside Rogers Center for the second of 3. You can see Baltimore Orioles. These two teams have played 19 times when it's all said and done, including a 4-game series the last week of the season. That could be very interesting.
Yeah, we play them here, and then we go right back to Baltimore on our next road trip, and then we don't see the Orioles for a while.
Till September. Uh-oh. That's not good. Sanchez throws one right over the head of Caleb Joseph, and he is the man that had one sail over his head last year in Baltimore. And this was my concern. Neither Sanchez nor Jimenez are strike throwers. I mean, they're all over the place. And fortunately, the umpires read it correctly.
One more time. You know, if you're a player, I mean, you have a feel, you have an idea of when a guy is trying to target you. And this is the thing that you were worried about. Now he's trying to paint the ball.
Yeah, and that might have rattled Sanchez more than Joseph.
Yeah, trying to not hit him. And now 2 balls that have thrown right back to the backstop.
That's the strike that Sanchez needs to throw on the first pitch. 94 miles an hour, a little bit of movement, and then work to the edges. Comes back and gets back into the at-bat. It's 3-2.
So start in the middle of the plate and then work to the edges. The deeper you go.
Two of the greatest pitchers of all time, Jim Cott and Tommy John, had a common pitching coach named Johnny Sane. And he used to talk about pitch to the middle at 80% effort on the first pitch. Get ahead. Then on the next pitch, 90% effort for half the plate. 0-2. Then you try to make a perfect pitch. A lot of pitchers nowadays try to make the perfect pitch on the first pitch for the corners, ball 1. Second pitch, ball 2. Now you got to throw one down the middle. Another walk. Sanchez has walked 4 already. He's had the benefit of 2 double plays.
It sounds simple enough, doesn't it? What you were just explaining. But at times very hard to do while you're out on that mound.
Well, I think a lot of times pitchers, and of course they know it, but pitchers don't realize how difficult it is to hit a moving fastball. You and I can speak to that. And you put a little movement on a fastball, it doesn't have to be 96. I mean, nobody shows you better than Mark Burney. He locates his fastball very well, and he pitches to the corners, and he changes speeds. This is Everett Cabrera. Boy, he has gotten off to a good start with the Orioles. They didn't know what they had in Everett Cabrera, and then they lost J.J. Hardy during spring training, and Cabrera has filled in admirably.
Yeah, the plan was for Cabrera to play second base and split some time with Jonathan Scope. Now he is their everyday shortstop with J.J. Hardy out.
Cabrera was 2 for 5 in the game last night. Little chopper up the first base line. Sanchez will shovel to smoke. Joseph goes to second on the out. Another good illustration of how difficult it is to square up that sinking fastball.
That one works just like a sacrifice bunt for the Baltimore Orioles as Cabrera just tops that fastball. No chance to get the runner at second base. Now there's a runner in scoring position.
The great Tom Seaver, the Hall of Fame pitcher that started his career with the Mets and one of the best pitchers of his generation, always talked about the 3 elements of pitching: location, movement, and velocity. Seaver always says that velocity is the least important.
Yeah. Which one is the most important now?
Location.
Location. Easily location. A good big leaguer can turn around any fastball if it's right down the middle.
Ground ball. Travis gets a nice hop. Diaz is up. Joseph continues his work around the bases. He's now at third, but there are 2 outs. This gets back to our conversation about the impact of the radar gun, where everybody gets enamored with the radar gun, and we want to light up that radar gun, and we all get concerned when the velocity drops. It's not about how hard you throw, it's about how many outs you get.
Yeah. Where you throw it. How about that? And then for young pitchers, you see a lot of them when they don't hit the speeds that they were hoping for. What do?
Try harder.
Try harder, and that's the worst thing that they can do.
2 outs. Jimmy Paredes walked and stole a base in the first. Paredes was on the DL with a lower back problem. He was activated, as we mentioned, when Jonathan Scope went down. There's a fly ball drilled to left field, and Goins is looking up. That's a home run. An opposite field, the home run for Jimmy Paredes.
Told you this guy can hit, and he has really hit well against the Blue Jays. In the series that the Baltimore Orioles just finished against the Boston Red Sox before they came here, they brought Paredes up because of the Scope injury, and he went 6 for 13 versus the Red Sox. He got hit with a ball yesterday in batting practice, so he did not play. Now in the lineup today, he's got a walk, a stolen base, and now a 2-run home run. A very simple swing. Looks a lot like Robinson Cano, doesn't he? The way he stands up there and just uses his hands.
Chris Davis slaps one through the left side of the infield. So Paredes, the switch hitter batting left-handed against Sanchez, hits the home run, his first of the season. Another hit by a left-hander, and then Davis gets the second hit. Here the crowd reacting to Adam Jones. Of course, Jones and Bautista with their post-game comments last night. Two 2-0 Baltimore. You see the ball strike ratio, certainly not where Sanchez wants it.
Yeah, too many out of the strike zone there. 24 compared to 20. It's fastball command. When he throws good pitches with that fastball, he attacks those hitters, and it's still, I think, a learning process for Aaron, learning his mechanics, learning what he can and can't do. At times tonight, it looks like he's trying to be a little bit too fine, trying to guide it in there, much like a guy throwing darts, trying to pinpoint control instead of just throwing it to a spot.
Fouled off the shin guard of Russell Martin. Jones lined into an inning-ending double play in the first. Hit a line drive to the first baseman, Justin Smoke, who went to second to double up the run. Both of these clubs can hit home runs. They have been first and second in the American League the last couple of seasons.
Got under that one. Adam Jones is the leader of that group also. He's the first outfielder in Orioles history with 4 straight years of 25 or more home runs. The first in their history, and they've had some pretty good outfielders in their history.
Frank Robinson, Ken Singleton, some pretty good outfielders. That's the 5th walk already.
The DIY Expert Sale, only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Pete Walker outstocked Aaron Sanchez. This is the 15th game the Blue Jays have played this season. Only 7 times have they gotten a starter to throw 6 innings or more. They've only had 1 start of 7 innings. That was R.A. Dickey against Atlanta. Mark Burley, he's gone 6 innings in all 3 of his starts. Dickey and Burley have thrown 6 of those games, and Hutch on opening day threw 6 innings.
Just up and down. Remember last year when they had that streak of the starter going 6 innings or more? One of the best in their career.
2 outs. Travis Snyder. He goes after the first pitch, and Ryan Goins, his first opportunity, makes the catch. That ends the inning when Baltimore jumps out to a 2-0 lead. Jimmy Paredes with a 2-run home run.
Listen to live audio, follow games pitch by pitch, and enjoy in-game video highlights. The app is available on the iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, Android, and BlackBerry. Season-long subscription packages are available. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. A look at the app tonight, Buck. You see that David Price gave up a 6th spot in the first inning to the Yankees. He threw 51 pitches in the inning.
The Yankees sent 11 men to the plate. Gregorio Petit drove in 3 runs with a double. And Price's night got off on a rough start. He hit Jacoby Ellsbury to start the game, and it was downhill from there.
Did our guy A-Rod do anything yet?
Yes, he struck out.
Oh, okay. All right. He's been hitting everything else.
They'd still be hitting, but A-Rod struck out. This is Kevin Pillar in the 8th spot. Jimenez has 3 strikeouts through 2 innings. He retired the side in order in the 2nd. Well, he is keeping that ball down and away.
Down and away. This is a lot like his start in Baltimore, where when he needed a pitch, he would go to that outside corner against the right-handers. With the slider and the comeback fastball, comes right back and clips that outside corner.
Greg King ball base hit up the middle. Leadoff single for Kevin Pillar.
Finally missed a spot. Breaking ball, and he left it over the middle of the plate. He's got a little bit of everything. Fastball, slider, splitter 8% of the time, changeup in the curveball. Yeah, when he's hitting his spots and using all of his pitches like he has so far today, he can be awfully tough. Got one of the lowest opponent's batting average against versus the fastball. In fact, the lowest at 0.43. That's just the 3rd hit against him, and the 2nd by a right-hander this season.
This is the 3rd career start for Jimenez in this ballpark. He made a start in 2012 in July, 2013. Had a relief appearance last year in September. Ryan Goins playing in left field. Goins had a good night at the plate. He was 2 for 4 with 3 RBI last night. Goins started out in AAA Buffalo. He tries to bunt to reach and bunts it foul. Ubaldo Jimenez, the last 5 starts against the Blue Jays, they have seen this before. He has been in a groove against Toronto.
ERA outstanding. How about the opponent's runners in scoring position? That bottom graphic right there, 0.97. So when he does give up runners in the scoring possession, position, he finds a way to get out of it. This is the same guy, when you look around, he's had trouble.
And Joseph double clutches, and Pilar slides in. The throw goes to center, but Jones is there to back up. Caleb Joseph double clutch, didn't have good grip on the baseball. Took a little bit more time to re-grip it, and then still threw it into center.
Thought the Blue Jays might try and bring out the running game tonight, especially if Jimenez is on his game. Throws a fastball in the inner half, and Joseph, you can see, double clutched. No chance for Pilar to move up as Adam Jones backs it up. Even though you're down by a couple of runs, I think you have to be aggressive. If this guy is throwing as many quality pitches as he is here through the first 3 innings, one way to beat him is be aggressive when you do get base runners.
Yeah, go ahead and get your runners in scoring position and hope that somebody can square one up against Jimenez. Nobody out. Runner at second. That's where the bottom spots in the lineup have been very good. Even when they make outs, they have productive at bats. Perfect pitch. I'm telling you what, he hit that spot down and away. First time through the lineup, that's 4 strikeouts for Jimenez.
Yeah, all 3 pitches to Ryan Goins were on the corner. 1 on the inside corner and 2 down and away. This is awfully tough right here to do anything with. You swing at that and you're not going to do anything anyway. There's that runners in scoring position again. Now he's starting to get a little bit tougher.
Reyes takes the first pitch strike. Jose struck out his first time up. The Orioles brought in Ramon Martinez to mentor Jimenez a bit in spring training, and Martinez has been traveling with the team. He is here in Toronto, and they've worked on his mechanics, and Dave Wallace, the pitching coach, and Martinez have a relationship from back to their Dodger days. And they were trying to figure out something that would get the most out of Jimenez. Dave Wallace was the Dodgers minor league pitching coordinator when Ramon Martinez was a young pitcher coming up through their system. And now Wallace is the pitching coach here, and figured that maybe something Martinez could bring to the mix. They're built similarly.
Yeah, tall, right-handed, long arms. Wow, just under the knees. Looks like it's take the ball out of the glove a little bit quicker and let that long arm swing work. There were times where he had stops and starts in his windup when he was with the Cleveland Indians a couple of years ago. Now he seems to have found that release point that allows him to go back to using the whole plate.
Breaking ball, and Reyes is able to put a bat on it and stay alive.
And actually pitch now. Before, he wasn't a pitcher. He just got the ball and just threw it as hard as he could. Now he can pitch.
Well, and when he was doing that, he was throwing 97.
Yeah.
So it was easier to just grab it and heave it up there. But he has lost that great velocity now. He's got to pitch, make quality pitches. Off the plate.
I think he still has it if he needs it, and if he has to rush it up there. But you can see it's a lot simpler delivery. Take the ball out of the glove sooner. He doesn't have his high leg kick. And less is more in miles per hour.
Reyes chases one upstairs and strikes out. A couple of strikeouts here in the third for Jimenez.
Long 7-pitch at bat. That looked like a slider right there that backed up and stayed up, and Reyes comes up empty.
I don't have any problem with him swinging at that pitch. You see that slider spinning up there like that. That's one that you can hammer. Evan Travis got a base hit to right field his first time up. Then he picked up his first career stolen base. Travis was hit by a pitch on Sunday. Shelby Miller of the Braves hit him in the left side. Bouncing ball. Knocked down at short. There'll be no play. Cabrera looked like he was thinking about going to third and took his eye off the ball. He checked out the runner Pilar as he was moving toward third, and
that's what I think
Travis reaches.
Exactly happened right here. 2 outs. Pilar is taking off, and he wasn't real sure. Maybe actually, yeah, he was going to third base on that ball. Felt like he had no chance to get Devin Travis over at first base. He was going to try and throw over to third base, and it worked out for the Jays.
Travis is 2 for 2. Single to right and an infield single to short. This is who you want at the plate right now. This is Josh Donaldson. He's had a terrific homestand. Donaldson brought in to drive in runs. He's got 11 so far. Chance to get the Blue Jays right back in it. Have you seen a pattern that the pitchers try to use against Donaldson? Is there a particular way they're attacking him?
It looks like they want to keep the ball away from him. And that could feed right into Josh's strength. He's been hitting the ball hard to right field and back through the middle. Fastballs away, breaking balls away. Hit a ball off the wall here last night. Drove that ball to right field.
Had a good cut at that pitch. One thing about Donaldson is when he commits to a swing, boy, he puts everything into it.
We saw that the first day in spring training this year when he suited up for the Blue Jays. He was all in on every swing.
Jimenez got away with a couple of pitches. Those last 2 pitches right out over the plate. You mentioned Donaldson's hot streak related to his timing more than anything.
Yeah, he said that this afternoon when we were talking to him. The timing is a little bit better, and I'm getting my pitches, and I'm hitting them, and I'm hitting them hard.
Gets a piece of that off-speed pitch and stays alive. 1-2.
That's what makes Jimenez so tough. Is he's got that fastball and he's putting it where he wants to, and then right when you think he might go back to that fastball, he drops that splitter on you. And it's got great tumbling action, and he, for the most part, keeps it down.
Quite a pattern. You can see those 3 pitches in the strike zone. Donaldson had a good rip at it. When they were low, he laid off them, not chasing. 2 balls and 2 strikes, 2 outs. Orioles have a 2-0 lead.
He was stepping. He was walking out there, and he was taking one more step towards second base, and that's when Jimenez threw behind him. Looked like he slipped just a little bit going back to first base.
Jimenez took too long for Donaldson, and he asked for time. Boy, he got a running start. Donaldson hits it high in the air to right, but it's well within play. Diaz is there, and the inning is over. Blue Jays leave a pair. We head to the 4th. The Orioles have a 2-0 lead.
to the fourth inning, and it is National Autism Awareness Month here. And to talk a little about the Blue Jays partnership, we are joined by Dr. Stephen Scherer. And Doctor, how important is it that you have this kind of support from Major League Baseball and the Toronto Blue Jays?
Well, it's incredible that we have MLB support, in particular the Blue Jays here in Toronto. What a great organization. This whole event is really about awareness of autism. We want people to know what it is, what it isn't, and to make everyone aware that we're working together to help families and help the kids really fulfill their potential.
I don't think a lot of people realize that 1 in 68 kids are in that spectrum, but there seems to be a lot of advancements. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about how the progress is really being made.
We've come so far in the last decade. I started research in this field. I work at Sick Kids Hospital about 15 years ago, and really we didn't know much about autism at all. We knew the name, that was it. And now we know through major investments of research from the community, from supporters like MLB, what autism is. We can actually characterize it as a group of disorders. We understand a lot about the genetics that are involved, a lot about the environment, but we have a lot more to learn, and that's what this event is about.
Dr. Scherer, if there are viewers out there that would like to lend their support, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, there's this incredible organization called Autism Speaks. That's what this little puzzle piece is, autismspeaks.ca. You can go there and find out more about what autism is, about the investment in research, how the community is helping out, and just learn more about it. It's everywhere in the community. Everyone has a family member or a relative or someone at the school. I think talk to the parents, learn more about autism, support it, and get involved. That's what we want to see.
Dr. Scherer, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, back to you, Buck.
Thank you, Barry. Good job. And, of course, a very important subject. And hopefully you help out and get involved. Baseball has done a great job of getting involved in many of these great causes. And Sanchez got Manny Machado to ground out to third. One down here in the top half of the fourth inning. Brian Flaherty grounded into a 4-6-3 double play. Blue Jays have turned 2 double plays, a line drive double play, and a ground ball. There's a good breaking ball, and Sanchez picks up his third strikeout.
It's another left-handed batter. All 3 of those strikeouts have been against left-handers. Watch Russell Martin want that breaking ball down, and he gets it and freezes Flaherty. That's the one thing that Russell has really been working with Sanchez, is for him to become a pitcher. He knows if he's going to start and have to go 3 times through a lineup, he's going to have to use his breaking ball. He's going to have to use his changeup. He's going to have to use his fastball. He can't come out like he did last year out of the bullpen and just keep firing fastballs. So he's been trying to get him to use that curveball a little bit more.
Well, that's a good one. Quickly ahead of 1-2 to Caleb Joseph.
And that's what pitching is all about, isn't it? You don't come out there and just keep hammering it in there. Set up hitters.
Breaking ball, foul outside of third.
And there'll be nights where there's good ones, and there'll be nights where he doesn't have the release point of it. There'll be nights where his fastball is just exploding, and other nights where there's just nothing in it. That's just the art of pitching. That's what happens.
You see Russell Martin emphasizing he wants that pitch down. With 2 strikes and you call for a breaking ball, if you throw it upstairs, it becomes very hittable. Wants the breaking ball again. Popped in the air. Pilar coming in. Gets there. Good inning for Sanchez. He retires the side in order. Edwin Encarnacion last night in the second against Bud Norris. The first of 2 home runs. The second one a monster to the 500 level. 463 feet.
Jays on Sportsnet. Presented by the 2015 Honda CR-V, Motor Trend's 2015 Sport Utility of the Year.
Josh Donaldson talking with assistant hitting coach Eric Owens, and certainly talking about what they're dealing with tonight. They've seen Ubaldo Jimenez twice now, and he's been on his game both times.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to give Blue Jays anything to hit. He has been tough.
Edwin Encarnacion with that 2-homer game last night.
You know, Aaron Sanchez, on the other hand, this is his third start of the season. You know, the Blue Jays haven't scored him a run since he's pitched. Pretty tough to win a game if you don't have any runs to work with.
And Mark Burley, he's the run hog right now.
He's the run hog. He's following Burley saying, where are all those runs? They haven't scored a run since when he's been in there for 3 straight games.
2 balls and a strike. We mentioned 2 home runs for Edwin. That's the 19th time he's had a multi-home run game. He becomes just the 3rd player to have multiple home runs in the 500 level here at Rogers Center. Jose Canseco hit 3 up there. Josh Phelps hit 2. And not many people remember how powerful Josh Phelps was. He had big time power. Upstairs, Phelps had a 2-home run game against Roger Clemens, August 29, 2002, and the second one went in the upper deck.
Yep.
Well, the next time Clemens faced him, opening day 2003, he hit Josh Phelps. That pitcher had a long memory.
Yeah.
Encarnacion takes ball 4. First walk issued by Jimenez. In case you're just joining us, Jose Bautista is out of the lineup tonight. He's dealing with a sore shoulder that flared up last night after that throw to first base, and Jose has been dealing with that shoulder problem. So he is out of the lineup. Everybody else moves around. John Gibbons used Josh Donaldson in Bautista's 3rd spot in the lineup tonight. Justin Smoak is batting 5th. Smoak made a fine defensive play in the first inning, snared a line drive off the bat of Adam Jones and turned it into a double play.
Good time for your first home run also. A couple of sliders that were up to him. He's got some power. He had a great round of batting practice today. A lot of sound coming out of that bat this afternoon. It's a good time to sit on a pitch right here.
He did. Drives it deep to left. Get up, ball. Oh, God. Top of the fence and out of here. Good call, Mr. Tabler.
You don't have to pull the ball to hit one out. That's for sure. They walk Encarnacion. He falls behind Justin Smoak, and they've been trying to get him to be aggressive, flatten out that bat just a little bit, and good things happen. First 2 runs that Aaron Sanchez gets to work with.
Smoak had a 20-homer season for the Mariners in 2013. That's his first as a Blue Jay. RBIs number 3 and 4 for Smoak, and just like that, we're tied at 2.
Watch him stay back, recognize that pitch, and gets all of it to left center. Right off the top of the wall.
Aaron Sanchez said, okay, that's what a run feels like. Now I got 2. Back to square one. Bottom of the 4th, Justin Smoak with a 2-run homer. Blue Jays are 3-5 on this homestand. One more game tomorrow night before they head out on the road. Martin shows bunt, takes the ball. Blue Jays will go to St. Petersburg play the Rays in a 3-game series before heading into Boston for 3, and then they finish up with a 4-game series against the Indians in Cleveland.
Maybe some payback against Tampa Bay. They came up here and played the Blue Jays tough.
Tampa Bay won the series 3-1 in that 4-game series, and Russell Martin takes ball 4. 2 walks in the inning.
That'll bring Dave Wallace out to the mound. While he heads out to the mound, let's take a look at this swing one more time. 4-seam fastball, and he just barrels that one up to left field. Stayed behind it. 2-0. Drove it out of here.
Take a look at these two AL East rivals. They are now tied with the Yankees. Each of those teams have 20 home runs, and the Astros are right there. Mariners, of course, they got a big boost from Nelson Cruz signing in the offseason. But let me ask you this. Josh Donaldson and Justin Smoke played in 2 big ballparks out on the West Coast, Smoke in Seattle and Donaldson in Oakland. How does this ballpark help them as hitters?
They're going to love hitting in this ballpark. That ball that we just saw Justin Smoke drive out of here, that's not a home run in Seattle. It's not even close to being a home run. Ball just does not carry. He's a big, strong guy. And I think both of them are really going to enjoy hitting here. You're going to see their power numbers go up.
Smoke has had home run seasons of 15, 19, and 20 while playing with the Mariners. Dalton Pompey. All of a sudden, Jimenez has lost the strike zone. 2 walks this inning.
2-0. Same count that Smoke hit his home run.
I don't think you're going to want to run in this situation with Jimenez struggling with his control. Pompey's got the count in his favor. Now it's 3-0. Kevin Pillar is on deck. Turn him loose here.
You know, he has hit some long home runs against some pretty good pitchers in his young major league career. Why not? Got nothing to lose.
He takes a strike.
You know, another reason why you could do that, you're thinking extra base hits, right? You're at the bottom of the lineup here. You know, a walk, now you got first and second, nobody out. You're not going to bunt for the number 9 guys. Turn them loose.
Ball 4. That's 3 walks in the inning, and all of a sudden Jimenez has lost the zone. 3 walks this inning and a 2-run home run. Buck Showalter, he, like the Blue Jays, has been plagued by short starts. Jimenez was thrown out of the game in the 4th inning the last time he started, and they had to use the bullpen. And Bud Norris last night, another short start, just 2 in a 3rd. You're really asking a lot of your bullpen.
Orioles are looking for the bunt here. And I just don't think they're going to let Pillar bunt. I think they're going to let him swing away. The corners are way in. Look at where Machado is, the 3rd baseman.
Not showing bunt, takes a high pitch.
All the infielders now looking into the dugout saying, are you sure you want us this close? And now Buck is rearranging his defense.
Yeah, and he has backed them up to a traditional double play depth. Now he shows bunt, takes a strike. Little gamesmanship going on here.
That's perfect right there. As soon as you see that defense back up like that, go ahead and lay it down. Now they're back in again. Swing away. Chris Davis, the 1st baseman, he's hard charging from the right side. Manny Machado's in. Look at the holes all over that inner defense that Pillar can shoot for.
Kevin's really got to fight himself in these situations to make sure he gets a good pitch. He's a very good hitter, but has a tendency to expand his zone. Ground ball. Cabrera to second for 1. Back to first. Double play. Martin moves to 3rd, but now there are 2 outs. Cabrera handled it perfectly and shuffled it off to Ryan Flaherty. So Ryan Goins will have to deliver with 2 outs. Goins caught looking at strike 3 his first time up, and Jimenez made 3 perfect pitches on him.
Yeah, he didn't throw anything off the corner. Everything was just tough for Ryan to swing at. Now look for that first pitch fastball right here.
Splitter in there for a strike.
Boy, they're making him work, aren't they? Jimenez has thrown a lot of pitches this inning.
He's thrown 76 already in this game, and we're 2 outs in the 4th. Broken bat. Davis gets down on a knee and beats Goins to the bag. Blue Jays tie it up. Justin Smoke, his first home run as a Blue Jay. 2-2 ball game. Now it's time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zaun.
Blue Jays host the Yankees at 7:07 p.m. That night it is Connect with the Jays Night, presented by Honda. The first 15,000 fans will receive a Blue Jays and One Love TO Come Together t-shirt. You've seen them all around. To get tickets, go to bluejays.com for more. What?
Should be a great night at the old ballpark. That's a nice looking t-shirt they're going to give away on May 5th, so make sure you check it out. Order your tickets. Lots of interesting things going on around baseball. How about Cincinnati and the Brewers last night? They hit 3 grand slams in that game. Todd Frazier, Jay Bruce, and Ian Herrera. And Herrera just got called up.
Yeah. 16-10 final.
Another pitcher's duel. Josh Donaldson in front of the bag at third. Throws out Everett Cabrera. 1 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Yunel Escobar had a walk-off game-winning home run in the game last night, as he had been out of the lineup for a couple of days with a groin injury, and he finished off that game last night with his home run.
That's his third walk-off home run with 3 different teams?
I think so, yeah.
The Braves and the Blue Jays, and now
the Nationals. Top of the order, Alejandro De Aza. Bunts it, but bunts it foul in front of Blue Jays dugout. Colin McHugh. You heard that name before? Mm-hmm. He's a pitcher that's won 10 straight games with the Houston Astros. He didn't get much credit, but boy, he's done a good job of putting together some good wins, and the Astros are off to a pretty decent start. Houston at 8-6. They're ahead in the AL West. All those highly regarded Mariners, they're 5-9. Gotten off to a slow start.
That's who they beat. He beat last night, right?
Yep. Ground ball. Smoke will go to the bag. 2 ground ball outs. Jimmy Paredes has been on board twice. He walked in the first, and then with a man aboard in the third, he put the Orioles out in front.
Only guy that Aaron Sanchez has had problems with. Looked like a ball down and away. He stayed right with it, right over the scoreboard in left field. Paredes has come into this series, just called up by the Orioles. He's come into this series a very hot hitter. Doesn't have that many at bats, just 14 this season.
Trying to go deep again. And a big home run cut on that first pitch. Mentioned Paredes was on the DL with that back injury. Activated on Saturday as the DH against the Red Sox. And Sanchez is a hit. Well, there's no question about the quality of Eric's pitches.
Oh. That one was 95. Yeah, I love look at Russell saying. Give me that fastball inside again. Nice.
How about that? He didn't want to throw it. Martin insisted on it and said, turn it loose. Let it eat. Big strikeout for Sanchez. For the Blue Jays here in the 5th, and before the game, Reyes, he likes to have fun, and he notices, hey, what's this new thing over here? Hey, what is this? Look, that's a camera. They're looking at me. Are you in there? Hello, hello. Hey, Mom, how you doing?
Jose, that's called the cue ball camera, a new addition.
Hi,
this
Mom.
Year.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom, of course.
There's the cue ball camera. So everybody knows it's in there, and of course they control that from the truck. Another added dimension to our broadcast. Boy, look at those 2 pitches. After walking 3 in the 4th, he throws 2 great pitches down and away, and it's a 1-1 count.
Quality down and away. Ball 1, and then the second pitch right on the corner.
Splitter that he bunts right through. It's now 1-2 to Reyes leading off the 5th. Reyes has struck out twice against Jimenez. He chased a high breaking ball last time up, but it was one of those hit-me sliders.
Yep. Yeah, if he throws it to him again, they might be a little bit more familiar with it.
Gets a piece of that splitter. That got a piece of the catcher. Caleb Joseph trying to walk it off. Reyes reached out and got that splitter. Bounced it off third, came up and hit the catcher. Jimenez in the first 2 innings threw just 29 pitches. The last 2 been a struggle. 48 pitches to get 6 outs.
That's one way to get him out of the ball game. Elevate that pitch count. You know, the type of player that he is. Remember, we were talking about him getting thrown out of the game after he's thrown a no-hitter. He went to Buck Showalter the next day and said, look, if you need me out of the bullpen, I'm fresh. I'll help you out. So he was ready to get down to that bullpen to help the team.
Reyes drills this one into left center. Snyder overplays it on a hop, and Jose is aboard with a leadoff single.
Championship-winning Honda CRF 450R for those who dare to ride red.
Two-two ball game. We're in the bottom of the fifth, and Devin Travis already 2 for 2 in his return to lineup. He missed the game last night with those sore ribs on his left side. He got hit by a pitch from Shelby Miller on Sunday. Had the one at bat. He was leading off in place of Reyes. Got the first base, dove back in on a throw over to first, and banged up his ribs to a point he had to leave.
It's a good combination right here, I think, for the Blue Jays.
Ripped down the left side. That's just foul outside the foul line. Tried to sneak a fastball by Travis inside.
And he's quick enough to pull that ball to left field. Then you throw that ball away. Yeah, he can hit it to right field. The combination is the speed of Reyes over there at first base, and then the back control of Devin Travis. That's that ball down the left field line that's just foul. He can take pitches, and he's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. He'll take pitches to let Reyes try and steal in front of him. It's a good combination, these two.
You'll remember in spring training, Travis got off to a terrible start. Didn't have a hit for his first 5 or 6 games, and he started to wonder, am I overmatched? But he never lost his confidence.
Never.
Kept swinging the bat, ended up having more hits than any Blue Jay throughout spring training.
And he didn't change anything. He stayed with the same approach. His at-bats were pretty good. He just didn't have anything to show for it through the first 4 or 5 games. But then he started hitting.
He's got 18 hits now. Only Josh Donaldson has more. Donaldson with 19. Ball on the strike. Reyes with a big lead.
And he was going.
He was going. He had worked his way onto the artificial turf. Kept inching away.
Where they think something's up, you can see after timeout he was going. And then the timeout, let's see if they're going to throw over.
Blue Jays with 2 stolen bases already tonight.
The Orioles think something's up.
Well, it's a good time to run this time of the order. You get him to second base. Donaldson's next, and then Encarnacion. Joseph is 0 for 8. Throwing out runners. Not going. Ball is drilled to center field, and Jones will watch this one go into the seats. Home run, Devin Travis. His 4th.
Good combination. I'm telling you, Reyes and then Travis in that 2-hole. He's got some pop. He can take the ball. He's going to get more fastballs with the big boppers behind him.
Donaldson bounces the first pitch foul.
3 hits now for Devin Travis. Watch how short this swing is. That was a splitter. And he smokes that ball to center field.
He's got a base hit to right, an infield single, and a home run to center. He uses the whole field. That's a terrific approach. Now Travis with 3 hits has tied Josh Donaldson for the lead in hits on the Blue Jays. 19.
That short swing. And that's some power to center field. Duck, Todd.
This is the first game that Travis has hit second in the lineup. He hit down in the 9th spot, and then when Reyes was out of the lineup, he hit leadoff. So now Aaron Sanchez has been given a 4-2 lead. Donaldson bounces it. Machado in front of the shortstop throws him out.
You know, you and I were speculating once. We were just talking. We talk baseball all the time, and we said, you know who might be a really good number 2 hitter for the Blue Jays at some point this season? Number 29, Devin Travis. For all those reasons that we were just talking about. He's got some power. He's got some back control. He can run a little bit. He's got a stolen base tonight. He hits the ball all over the field.
And he's confident. He'll hit with 2 strikes. He'll take pitches, and he's got 4 home runs in the big leagues. His highest home run season, he hit 10 home runs in 2013 and 10 more in 2014. He had 29 career minor league home runs. He's got 4 big league home runs.
You run into players like that, many years as you've spent in the big leagues, they become better hitters when they get to the big leagues. You've seen it before.
George Brett.
Pedestrian numbers as minor leaguers, and then they get to the big leagues. I don't know if it's the better ballparks or the better lighting. The pitchers are around the plate a little bit more.
I think a lot of it is they like the competition. They like the fact they're playing against the best. Some of these great major leaguers, I think, get bored in the minor leagues. There's not that intensity. Every night you're going to face a tough pitcher in the big leagues, and some people relish that. Well, look where they're working in Encarnacion. You think they want to stay away from him?
Yeah, they've straightened out the defense against him also.
Smoke homered his last time up. First 2 Blue Jays runs. He hit his first home run, a 2-run shot. Another pitch down and away. Cabrera to Davis. 2 down. We talk about a rookie second baseman, Devin Travis, and compared to the other American League second baseman, he's the leader of the pack at OPS, and there's some pretty good names. You look at the list of infielders, and Travis is off to a great start.
Yeah, who are some of those all-stars on there? He has not looked out of place.
No, not at all. And here's a kid that got hit in the rib cage on Sunday, and after watching Reyes play with a cracked rib, he said, I got to get back in there. My man, Reyes is playing. I can't be out. He's got a cracked rib. I just got hit by a pitch. Splitter for a strike. It's 1-1 to Justin Smoke.
Yeah, you know that saying, you can't help the club when you're in the tub. Basically meaning if you're hurt, you can't help the club, so get out there.
Well, players used to say that to each other. Somebody would be nursing an injury, and somebody walked through the trainer's room and say, hey, you can't help the club in the tub. Well, I like the way Smoke's swinging the bat. Happened about halfway through the spring. Of course, Justin Smoke in his first season with the Blue Jays, working with Brooke Jacoby and Eric Owens, the hitting coach. They both went to him and said, listen, you're a big, strong guy. Just turn it loose.
Yeah, stop hitting the ball on the ground. Get the ball up in the air.
Chases that high pitch, another strikeout, but the Blue Jays have taken the lead 4-2 on the 2-run home run by Devin Travis. We head to the 6th, and here comes the Home Hardware cleanup crew, brought to you by Natura, Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products.
nextissue.ca/baseball and get an extended 60-day free trial. And while the Blue Jays lead 4-2 at Rogers Center, back in Dunedin, Michael Saunders is leading off again for the Dunedin Blue Jays. He is 0 for 2 on the night. John Gibbons says the chances are very good that he will rejoin the Blue Jays on Friday. Buck, Tabby, the way that we're seeing both Kevin Pillar and Dalton Pompey play, this is not going to be an easy decision for them because they've already said Saunders is going to be an everyday player. How do you see this all shaking down?
Well, I don't know that he's going to be an everyday player right off the bat. I think they're going to try to ease him in, and the way the two young outfielders have played, I think they deserve an opportunity to stay in the lineup.
And the Blue Jays are going to face Drew Smiley on Friday, the left-hander for Tampa Bay.
Make his first start of the season. He has started the season on the DL, so Smiley will be back. That's a left-handed pitcher, so you would think you'll see Pillar in left.
And if Jose is back by then, you'll see him in right field. So we'll see.
Pitch is down and in. I think that's the one thing that you have to guard against as a manager, is making statements about playing time. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You come out, Kevin Pillar, and look at Travis. Say, came out and said, well, we're going to find out about Devin Travis, and maybe we'll go with somebody else. Well, he's gotten off to a great start. If you made a promise that somebody else was going to play, you couldn't live up to that.
You can't. The game changes from day to day, and you're right. You do want to have 4 outfielders on your roster. Blue Jays have only been carrying 3 outfielders on their roster so far this season.
Kevin Gausman, young right-hander, is loosening up for the Orioles, and Sanchez walks another. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Jamie, that is a very good number, and good of you to pick up on that. Devin Travis with 4 home runs. 6 walks now issued by Aaron Sanchez. He's had the benefit of 2 double plays turned behind him. Adam Jones lined into one of those double plays.
With those 6 walks, he's starting to find it. He had retired 7 in a row before that walk to Chris Davis. Finding that release point, it's just made that pitch count go up a little bit too quick.
There's a good fastball. Roberto Osuna had a 22-year-old starter, and now you're loosening up a 20-year-old reliever. That speaks volumes about the future of the Blue Jays. Lots of young talent. Jones drills it into center. Pompey is right there.
The DIY Expert Sale, only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Beautiful shot of Rogers Center. The blue lights and the Blue Jays enjoying a 4-2 lead. Travis Snyder 0 for 2 so far. Orioles have just 2 hits, but 6 walks have contributed to their effort tonight. One of those walks scored Caleb Joseph. Walked to start the 3rd, and Jimmy Paredes drove him in with a 2-run homer. Martin can't locate it, and Davis will move to 2nd. Ball in the dirt. Wild pitch will be charged to Sanchez.
Takes the double play away from the Blue Jays. Just wild enough. Fastball, and he spikes it. Runs up the arm of Martin, and Russell cannot find it.
Two and 0. That's a pretty good pitch. But you're not going to get those borderline pitches when you walk 6.
Right-hander on deck and Machado. It's a big left-hander right here for him to get out. Snyder's come up with some big hits against the Blue Jays already this year.
Another walk. That's 7 walks, and that might be it. So Snyder walks. Osuna is loosening up in the bullpen. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. John Gibbons has come out of the Blue Jays dugout, and he's made the call to the bullpen. Aaron Sanchez goes 5 1/3. Another starter fails to go 6 innings for the Blue Jays, but Sanchez will lead with the lead. He allowed only 2 hits, had 4 strikeouts, but 7 walks led to his undoing tonight.
Showed a better fastball. He had good movement. He has a chance to win his first game of the season.
Roberto Osuna in. 2 aboard. Manny Machado will bat with 1 out when we come back. It's encouragement from the manager, and there are certainly a lot of good spots in this ball game for Sanchez. Allowed just 2 hits. Roberto Osuna goes after Manny Machado with the first pitch.
There are Osuna's numbers. 6 games, but he's only pitched in 8 innings. There's the number. He has not given up an earned run in those 6 games. Right-handers have just 1 hit against him. Good fastball, breaking ball, slider combination. He's going to need a ground ball right here.
Comes in and throws first 2 pitches over. He's ahead 0-2. Breaking ball in the dirt. Osuna has faced just 3 Oriole batters. Davis, Jones, and Pierce. They're all 0 for 1. So Orioles hitters don't know a lot about Roberto Osuna. 1-2, 1 out. Missed his spot, but got away with it.
Yeah, it's twice that they've tried to jam up those fastballs to Manny Machado, and he has missed his spots. Throws so hard.
What's different about his fastball and Sanchez's fastball?
His is a little bit straighter. Aaron's got that downer fastball where he can get that ground ball. There he went inside to attack him. If he's going to get the ground ball, I think he's got to get the ball down because it's a little bit straighter than Sanchez's fastball.
Fastball away, 96. You can see ball carries right on through the zone. Much different fastball. They're both the same on the radar gun, but the movement is dramatically different. Ooh, good job by Martin. That keeps the double play in order. He backhanded that changeup in the dirt. Ryan Flaherty is on deck. It's a full count. We're in the 6th inning. Davis at second, Travis Snyder at first. Machado lines it to right. Pilar plays it on a couple of hops. They'll stop Davis at third. The bases are loaded. Manny Machado, his first hit of the night.
It's the second hit by a right-hander against Osuna in this early season to get a base hit. It took a pretty good piece of hitting right there. Just reached out and just poked it to right field. Pretty good pitch. He gets that fastball away. You can see how Machado has to reach for it. Flick it into right field.
Right-handers now 2 for 15 against Osuna. He has handled them. This is Ryan Flaherty. Bases are loaded. He goes after the first pitch and pops it into shallow left. Reyes calls Donaldson off and makes the catch. Gets the ball back into Russell Martin. Flaherty retired on the pop-up.
This is a team, the Baltimore Orioles, as a team coming into this game hitting .436 against the first pitch. So you better make a good one on that first pitch of an at-bat. Osuna made a pretty good one there. Got Flaherty to pop it up.
Catcher Caleb Joseph has a 7-game hit streak. He went 1 for 4 last night to extend that hit streak. He's 0 for 1 with a walk so far tonight. 2 outs. Fastball in, fastball away, 1-1. Changeup on the corner.
I like the comeback action on that changeup. Right on the corner, you can see with that change.
Two balls and 2 strikes. This is the pitch that Osuna wants to resolve this at bat. Don't let him go to 3-2 with 2 outs. And he does. 97, his best fastball of the inning. Osuna strikes out Joseph to keep the bases loaded. Russell Martin, the catcher, very animated as he's able to get these young pitchers through tough situations. He'll lead things off when we come back.
closest opponents, and the Yankees May 4th through 6th, and the Red Sox May 8th to 10th. The Angels of Anaheim come in from the 18th to 21st, and then you get a chance to see some former Blue Jays, as Jay Happ and the Seattle Mariners are in May 22nd to 24th, and then it is Melky Cabrera and the White Sox May 25th to 27th. Cabrera got off to a terrible start, but over the last week or so, guys, he is hitting like we saw him hit when he was a Blue Jay.
Melky Cabrera 2 for 4 today, is average at 293, so he is headed back to Rogers Center. This is Kevin Gausman, who will take over for Ubaldo Jimenez, who threw 102 pitches through 5 innings.
So he is out of there, and Buck Showalter goes to his bullpen. Kevin Gausman, he's been a starter in the past. He made 20 starts for the Orioles last year. He's got a good arm, former first-round draft pick of the Baltimore Orioles. Fastball, he's got good movement on it, and a curveball.
Catcher Russell Martin will start things off. The Orioles are really starting to develop some good young starting pitching prospects, and Gausman's one of them. Another one down in the minors, Dylan Bundy, who's coming back from Tommy John surgery. They have a kid named Stephen Wright in the minors who is throwing well, but they have to develop their own starting pitcher. Russell Martin lines it past the shortstop. One hops into left field. Leadoff single for Russell Martin. Coming into this game, Orioles starter Ubaldo Jimenez had allowed just 1 hit tonight. The Blue Jays jumped on him for 6 hits and 4 earned runs, a couple of home runs, both 2-run homers. Devin Travis and Justin Smoak.
The first 3 innings, he was lights out. He just gave up 3 scratch hits through those first 3 innings, then a walk and a home run by Smoak. Couple other walks, and then another 2-run home run by Travis. All the damage done against him. You know, I think it's just a matter of time. You were just talking about the Orioles and their young starters and how they have to develop their own. I think it's just a matter of time before this guy, Kevin Gausman, is in their starting rotation. He's got an electric arm.
Russell Martin breaks for second, and he's going to be an easy target. That may have been a hit and run.
Yeah, somebody missed a sign right there.
Caleb Joseph throws out a runner for the first time this season, and he throws a strike, puts the tag on. It's Cabrera waiting at second.
You can see Russell is anticipating the hit and run as he took that quick peek into home plate.
That ball is drilled, and it's going to go up against the wall in right. Pompey is headed for second. Diaza gets it back in. Pompey's 3rd double of the series, his 5th for the season.
Second time that he was on base tonight. That was a bullet. He got the barrel out on that one. Fastball down and in, and he yanks that ball into the corner.
See his reaction once he got to second base, as if he recognized he may have missed the hit and run on that previous pitch. 1 out. He's in scoring position for Kevin Pillar.
Here's the reaction that you were just talking about. Cruz is in the second base with a double, and daggone it, why didn't I do that when he was running?
I can relate to that feeling.
Yeah.
Russell Martin was thrown out easy at second, but he's 22 years old, started last season in A-ball. And you get up here and you're thinking, okay, I got a new pitcher in the game. I got to figure out what I'm going to hit against him. You look down at third. You don't even see the sign. You just look right past the third base coach. You miss the sign. Then you see the runner going, oops, I must have missed the sign.
Yeah, and as soon as he gets thrown out, you feel terrible because you know you messed up. But you know what? You got to forget about it. He helped himself out with that double.
Got himself into scoring position, Pillar. goes around. It's 1-2. And the Blue Jays recognized they were going to take 6 rookies. And you're going to have to live with some growing pains. But they took 6 talented rookies.
4 of them, I believe, last year started in A-ball a year ago at this time. 4 of the 6. So there will be some growing pains.
He calls in for a swing there. Mike DeMuro with a very delayed strike 3 call. And Pilar is saying you should have checked with the first base umpire. And DeMuro says, I had him all the way. But it was a delayed call from the home plate umpire.
Looked like a fastball. Yeah, home plate umpire. He doesn't have to ask for help if he sees it himself. That he went around on a check, and he said Kevin went around.
Ryan Goins batting with 2 outs, and Pompey at second. First pitch changeup. Goins playing in left field, starting there for the first time in his big league career. Oh, 0-2. Kevin Gausman's 24 years old. He was a 4th overall pick in the 2012 draft. And he humps up 99 miles an hour after a couple of changeups. Gausman strikes out a pair to get out of a jam.
Baseball, especially when you're sitting in those big, comfy chairs, courtesy of TD. In the comfort zone, they're guests of TD. Meanwhile, over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse are folks, and we saw them earlier from Autism Speaks Canada. Buck.
Thank you, Barry. Good to have those groups here at Rogers Center tonight. Autism Speaks is doing a great job in bringing awareness. This is Roberto Osuna. He came into the ball game with 1 out in the 6th. He was able to get out of the inning by striking out Joseph. Cabrera bounces out to the first baseman. Check in with Jamie Campbell. The Minnesota Twins might have the best core of young position players in the American League. They're just on the verge of really developing. Of course, they had a terrible hit to their team this year when Irvin Santana was suspended, out for 80 games. But they've got some good-looking position players,
and they're just on the cusp. Some of them are getting to the big leagues. Byron Buxton and Samuel and
Hicks. Dozier is their second baseman. He's a good-looking young player. Arcia, good player. They're the Cubs of the American League, huh? Cubs loaded up on position players through the draft, and that's starting to pay dividends for the Cubs. Leadoff man Alejandro De Aza is 0 for 3. He has struck out and grounded out twice. Brett Cecil starting to loosen up for the Blue Jays. Roberto Osuna. This is his 7th appearance. The most impressive aspect from Osuna has been that he's averaged under 15 pitches per inning. Been very, very economical. This is a little flare that's going to drop into left field. Ryan Goins bobbles it, and De Aza is going to go to second. I think De Aza was satisfied with a single, and once Goins couldn't make a play on it cleanly, he went to second.
Yeah, he had stopped coming around first base, and when that ball handcuffed Goins and bobbled it, started back up and got himself into scoring position. You can see he bobbles this ball right here. He's going to come up throwing, but De Aza had stopped, came around right there, and then notices the bobble.
That'll be a base hit for De Aza, and an error is charged to Ryan Goins, playing his first game in the outfield in the big leagues. Jimmy Paredes goes after the first pitch. Pompey broke back, but he recovers in time to retire Paredes. Aaron Sanchez was the starter tonight, and he was able to overcome some wildness. He walked 7 tonight, but allowed just 2 hits, struck out 4. Gives up 2 earned runs. They came on the Paredes home run in the 3rd inning.
We saw some good things tonight from Aaron Sanchez. The 4th and 5th inning, 3 up, 3 down, a couple of strikeouts in those innings. We saw a good fastball. We saw him start to incorporate his breaking ball at times and throw some pretty good ones.
Chris Davis fouls it off.
Now the bullpen's got to hold it for him.
Davis faced Machado in Baltimore. He is 0 for 1. There goes the runner, De Aza. Russell Martin's throw. I don't know why he was going. Boy, that is a big base running blunder by the Orioles. You got a home run guy at the plate. It's a 2-run game, and Russell Martin throws out De Aza. Chris Davis wears out the Blue Jays in this ballpark, and De Aza ran the Orioles out of the inning. Thank you, Jamie. Great hockey action. We got a good ball game going here. The Blue Jays have a 4-2 lead as they bat in the 7th. Reyes goes after the first pitch and pops it into foul ground. Chris Davis, first baseman, makes the catch. That'll bring up Devin Travis. Travis has had a perfect night. He's 3 for 3 with a home run. He had a 2-run home run in the 5th. And in the history of the Blue Jays franchise, Blue Jays rookies, most home runs in the team's first 15 games of the season all time. Delgado, Carlos had 8 home runs in '94. Devin Travis is tied with the late Doug Ault, who had 4 home runs in the inaugural Blue Jays season. And Travis Snyder, who's in left field with the Orioles, he had 3 in 2009. So Devin Travis has put his name in the annals of franchise history.
And don't you think he'd be the first one to say, I'm not a home run hitter?
Yes. Hits this one hard, and Machado takes his time, spins and fires, and they retire Devin Travis for the first time tonight.
What he's had is good at bats. And when they challenged him with fastballs and he's gotten pitches to hit, he squared them up. He's just had good at bats.
Two down here in the 7th. Josh Donaldson 0 for 3. Coming inside.
Boy, he's got a good arm. He's an example, Kevin Gausman, of being patient and waiting your turn. This guy had 6 stints with the Orioles last year. Think about that. Number 1 pick like that, and he went up and down 6 different times for him. You got to wait your turn.
They brought Jimenez in last year in February as a free agent. Signed him to a 4-year contract, but it cost them $50 million. They have a big investment in Gausman, but nowhere near that kind of commitment.
I think eventually he's going to be in their starting rotation. His arm, I think, is just too valuable. He looks like Aaron Sanchez in that he's tall and thin and he's got long arm, and you just watch the ball, how it comes out of his hand. It's so easy and effortless.
I'll tell you who he looks like. Jeff Hoffman.
Oh.
Blue Jays' number 1 pick from last year. Hoffman wears glasses like Gausman. He has the same stature, long arms, tall body, good pitcher's body. And he has the ability to throw at 98, 99.
Right. And it comes out that easy, right?
Yeah. Terrific young man with a great delivery. There's a splitter, and that's a strikeout for Gausman. Easy inning, 3 up, 3 down. The Blue Jays go quietly in the 7th, but we head to the 8th. Blue Jays have a 4-2 lead. Brett Cecil coming out of the pen.
The Baltimore Orioles 4-2 going to the top of the 8th, and where I am now is the radio broadcast center. It is the best broadcast in radio on the Sportsnet, the Fan 590, each and every game. Jerry Howard, Mike Wilner, Joe Siddle over here, and of course, we always have to have another catcher doing broadcasts. Joe, Buck, what is it about you catchers that always end up in the booth?
Barry, what are you doing over there in the radio booth? Get back to television where you belong.
They do say
Would you get out of there?
Radio.
Come on.
Quit bugging them.
I think I'm disturbing Jerry now.
Brett Cecil into the ball game. This will be his 6th appearance. He's in because Chris Davis, the lefty, will lead things on.
We got a lefty in Davis, then Jones, and then Snyder. We'll probably see a pinch hitter.
I got to tell you, they had to be doing cartwheels in the dugout when Dazzler broke for third, and he got thrown out to end the inning. Chris Davis has 25 career home runs against the Blue Jays. It's a 2-run game. He's got 10 home runs here at Rogers Center.
And what is that going to do? You move up 90 feet, you're already in scoring position.
Chris Davis and Adam Jones have worn out the Blue Jays. And Cecil busts him inside. Yeah, it was a big surprise, and Diaza, I mean, if you're going to run in that situation, you got to walk over the third.
Yeah, you better be sure you're going to be safe. Maybe he thought with the Jays in the shift with Davis at the plate that he could beat Donaldson to third, but no chance. Josh was there, caught the ball, blocked him off of third base, and Diaza knows he made a mistake.
Adam Jones has 27 career home runs against the Blue Jays. Chris Davis has 25. 2-2. Ground ball. Smoke will go to the bag. 1 down.
The championship-winning Honda CRF 450R for those who dare to ride red.
Adam Jones, a 200 hitter against Brett Cecil. Jones is 5 for 25 against the Blue Jays lefty.
He has hit the ball hard tonight. It has nothing to show for it. Had a chance for an RBI his first time up and was robbed by Justin Smoke.
Breaking ball missed inside. Jones is batting .426. That's Steve Pearce, who's grabbed the bat. He's on deck. He will bat for Travis Snyder. Now it's 3-1. Miguel Castro ready should the Orioles counter with a righty bat. Jones pops it up. Smoke, the first baseman, calls everybody off and makes the catch. 2 down.
Had a way to come back against a good hitter. 3-0. And we got Jones.
Steve Pearce has been announced into the game, and with that, after Jones popped out, John Gibbons has summoned the young right-hander out of the bullpen. So Brett Cecil gets his 2 men, Davis and Jones. Now Miguel Castro comes on to face Steve Pearce, the pinch hitter. right-hander Miguel Castro into the ball game. Steve Pearce, the right-handed batter, was announced as a pinch hitter for Travis Snyder, so Castro was summoned out of the Blue Jays bullpen.
Yeah, not taking anything for granted. They want the matchup, the right-hander versus the right-hander. There are the numbers for Miguel Castro in 7 games this season. Brett Cecil retired the 2 batters he faced tonight. Castro's last appearance was his first blown save of his young career.
Gave up a 9th inning home run to Kelly Johnson. Steve Pearce with 2 home runs. That ball is drilled to center field. Pompey has a beat on it, and Castro gets his man. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Blue Jays have a 4-2 lead. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Craig Zong.
Blue Jays ticket package. You pick the games and reserve seats that get you closer to the action. Starting from 10 games up to a full season, our account executives will find packages that best suit your needs. Go to BlueJays.com to learn about all the great benefits of being a Blue Jays ticket package holder.
Thank you very much, Barry. As the Blue Jays will bat in the 8th inning, it's a 4-2 Blue Jays lead. New pitcher into the ballgame is Darren O'Day.
Yeah, his numbers this year, very effective. Where he comes from down under, sinker, slider, side armor. 7 strikeouts, just 1 walk this season. Stephen Pearce stays in the ball game.
It's in left field. He came on as a pinch hitter for Travis Snyder. Conachon swings at the first pitch. ESPN's website has a terrific home run tracker, and they track all the home runs hit in the major leagues. And Edwin Encarnacion has hit a home run. He's tied for second for the longest home run hit this season. That's the one he hit into the upper deck last night. It was measured at 463 feet. Only Alex Rodriguez has hit a home run farther. And they have a subtitle of Golden Sledgehammer, where they recognize the home run hitter that hits the longest average home runs. And Edwin Encarnacion has that distinction. His home run average this season is 429.5 feet. When he hits them, they're gone.
He hits them. I'd like to have $1 for every foot of home runs in yesterday's ball game. I'd have about $1,000.
You'd have more than that. Pulled to third. Machado deep at third. Long throw. 1 down. The drive of the game is presented by the 2015 Honda CR-V, Motor Trend's 2015 Sport Utility of the Year.
Justin Smoke is going to win tonight's drive of the game with this ball. from Ubaldo Jimenez. 2-0. Jimenez throws one in there. Justin Smoke delivers with a drive, his first home run as a Blue Jay this season.
Ground ball. Machado deep at short, reaches it back for that little extra, throws it in the dirt. This Davis couldn't dig it out of the dirt. It should be a base hit for Justin Smoke.
Yeah, it should. He crosses up the defense, and I start to see teams do this just a little bit more. They've got 3 infielders on the right side, just Manny Machado on the left side, so he cuts down his swing, hits it to the left side. That is a tough play. He plants the right foot. That is all arm strength. He's got to get it from short left field. Short hops him, and unfortunately Smoke doesn't get a base hit.
Yeah, and they give Manny Machado an error on that. I don't agree with that at all. He was in an unusual position. He was deep and had to make a perfect throw. So it's an error on the third baseman. Russell Martin singled into 6th. He was thrown out in what looked to be a blown up hit and run play.
That's got to be a hit, doesn't it? That's your home ballpark.
Absolutely.
You would think. Extraordinary effort.
Playing in the shift. He's the third baseman. He has to backhand it going back toward third, and then from the outfield, he was beyond that line at shortstop. He'd make a perfect throw.
I am not writing anything down. I think they're going to change it. It's got to be a hit.
Reaches for it and pops it into shallow right. Beaza comes in quickly and makes the catch. 2 down in the bottom of the 8th. Dalton Pompey 1 for 2 tonight. Pompey doubled his last time up. That gives him 5 doubles for the season. All of his doubles have come against the Orioles. He's had two double games and this double tonight. He bunts it up the third baseline. It's a beauty. O'Day's throw is not in time. Well, Pompey's got a lot of offensive weapons. He ripped a double to the wall in right field, and now he drops down a beautiful bunt.
This carpet, because it's so slow, you're going to see a lot of bunt hits like this. This is perfectly placed. He gets a slider, deadens it, bounces it off the dirt, and watch as it rolls out. It just stops. No chance for the third baseman to field it. O'Day goes over there and tries to get it over to first base in time. That's the first hit by a left-hander given up by O'Day this season.
Kevin Pillar is 1 for 3. Struck out swinging in the 6th. Tried to check his swing and fouled it. Blue Jays would love to get an insurance run here in the 8th. They have a 4-2 lead. Villar pops it into right. Diaz is there. The inning is over. The Blue Jays leave a pair. We'll go to the 9th. Miguel Castro closed out the 8th inning, trying to wrap up the 9th. Miguel Castro got the pinch hitter Steve Pearce to fly out to end the 8th. Now he'll deal with Manny Machado, Ryan Flaherty, and Caleb Joseph.
Trying to nail down that first win of the season for Aaron Sanchez.
Says Manny Machado, third baseman. He's got 1 for 2 with a walk. Castro 2 for 3 in save opportunities. Pat mentioned that lone save against the Braves. This is popped straight back out of play.
Castro, he's got what you call easy fastball. Doesn't look like he overthrows. And he's popping it in there at 97 and then breaks off that slider.
87-mile-an-hour slider.
Still been a little bit inconsistent, that slider, but when it's a good one, it's a great compliment to the fastball.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Left-handed batting Ryan Flaherty is on deck. That's a fair ball down the left side, and Manny Machado is heading for second. Fan has grabbed the baseball. It'll be fan obstruction. Machado with a leadoff double. Now for a preview of what's coming up next on Sportsnet Central, here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osman. Thank you very much, Ken. That'll be coming up right after this ball game. So the Orioles get the tying run to the plate here in the 9th. Manny Machado with the leadoff double. Ryan Flaherty, he's up there hacking at 96 and fouls it back.
This whole team does. I told you that first pitch, they're #1 in the American League in batting average. on a first pitch, hitting over 400. This is the tying run right here. The guy out at second base doesn't mean anything to the Blue Jays right now. They want to get this guy.
One and one count to Ryan Flaherty. Changeup. Boy, that's the knack of a veteran pitcher, but we have seen Castro and Osuna, for that matter, rely on that changeup.
Not afraid to throw it. Not afraid to use it. Flaherty is now choking up at the plate. Got that two-strike approach.
Two and two. Manny Machado with his second double of the season. Led off the ninth against Castro.
Three in a row. Three
changeups. Full count. Catcher Caleb Joseph is on deck. He walked him. So the Blue Jays have been very generous with the base on balls tonight. That is 8 walks that they have allowed the Orioles.
Yeah, but the Orioles have not been able to capitalize on all those base runners. Blue Jays have pitched out of trouble all night long.
Orioles have stranded 6 so far. They are 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Liam Hendricks will loosen up quickly, and looks like Loop's trying to get loose as well. Joseph was sitting on that first pitch fastball and fouled it straight back.
So Russell's going to go out there and talk to him. Joseph has home run power. Wasn't this the guy who hit like home run in 5 straight games last year?
Right. He had a streak of home runs, consecutive games which he homered.
Didn't finish with a lot of home runs for the season, but I remember he was in a hot stretch for a while. And he was up there hunting fastball on that first pitch.
Ball and a strike.
Well, Castro could always get out of it. You can see his fastball's got movement to it, a lot like Aaron Sanchez. He can get the ground ball out with a well-placed fastball.
That's a well-placed fastball at 97.
Again, big league hitters, and they don't care how fast it is. If you put it in a good spot and locate that fastball, you're going to get outs.
Looked like a pretty good pitch. Russell Martin wanted it, the high slider. Joseph homered in 5 straight games last year, starting on August 2nd. He homered at home against Seattle, and Washington on the road, 2 games here in Toronto. There it is. That's the first out of the top half of the ninth.
He didn't get the high strike with that slider, but he got the low strike. You can see him spin that thing. And it's called strike 3 by home plate umpire. That's Mike DeMuro.
1 down. This is Delman Young coming off the bench, batting for Everett Cabrera. He goes after the first pitch. Reyes to Travis to Smoke. Ball game.
He can get out of it with that well-placed fastball. He's got that sinker like we were talking about. Delman Young comes off the bench aggressively. That's a tailor-made double play, and the Blue Jays turn it and win the second game in this series.
Devin Travis in his return to the lineup had a big night offensively. He had a 3-hit night. He's also part of 3 double plays. Ken and Ivanka coming up next on Sportsnet Central. More hockey. Rangers and Penguins, Ducks and Jets. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night for the finale of this 10-game homestand. Blue Jays win it 4-2.